Welcome back, everyone. So let's move on to set up this BP RTS Pong here. A few things we can actually do here is we can define like how far away the camera will be. We can go grab the camera arm here, and we can rotate it up like maybe 60 degrees, so we're looking down this way, right? And then we can then go change the camera arm length to define how far away we're looking at our ground. Okay, so that's how I want to do here. Then back here underneath the project settings, we of course want to change our mode from this C++ one to the BP version of it. Okay, alright, so now we're using this guy. Now this guy will be using our BP version of our player controller and the BP version of our Pong, so BP RTS Pong. Okay, compile and save. Now if we go play the game, you can see now we're looking downwards 45 degrees. Okay, if you press the F8 to unpossess, you can see our BP RTS Pong right here, right? That's where we're looking at. Another thing about this RTS game or mobile game is that we're not looking at it this way, we're looking at it in a slightly tilted way. We can grab the player start and then drag it, of course rotate it to maybe 45 degrees. Okay, and then when we play the game, we can see now we're having a always 3/4 angle kind of thing to look at the world. Alright, so now we have set it up, the Pong now, but we cannot do anything. We don't see the cursor, we cannot move around. Okay, so let's do something here. We can of course separate the problem into multiple steps. So we want to be able to move the camera around. We can solve that first, and then we want to use the cursor to move the camera around when the cursor gets closer to the edge. So that's gonna be another problem. Okay, so let's solve the first problem, how we can move maybe just using the arrow buttons on the keyboard just to move the camera around. Okay, let's solve that problem first. Let's go to the player controller here. Actually the C++ one, but you can use Blueprint if you wanted to use it. Use Blueprint to implement the detail. Okay, they are pretty similar in this case. So we have the player controller and the CPP. Okay, let me first create its constructor here. Even we may not need it for now, but let's just create the constructor for it. Okay, and then create the implementation. Let's leave it empty for now. And then I wanted to be able to have the input handled by the controller instead of the Pong. You can handle it anywhere you want. I think they want you to handle the input here, so they have this here, but I'd rather to have it here, but you can do it wherever you want it to be. Okay, so I'm gonna do implement or override one of the base functions from the player controller class, which is the setup input component. Okay, it's gonna be overrided. All right, and then let's see, what do we do here is we're gonna do super to call the parent class setup input component. Let's leave it for now so we can set up input later on. Alright, let's go back to the header file, and then I need two functions to move the camera up and down, left and right. Okay, so let's do that. I'm gonna be void, oh, not the void scroll up. Okay, and then void scroll down. Okay, I also wanted to be able to tell it how much I wanted to do, so float amounts. Okay, float amounts, so it tells me, so I can scroll up and down in different amounts. Okay, let me grab the scroll up first and then create the implementation. So to scroll something up and down, it's basically doing a very simple thing here. It's just basically moving this guy or our player Pong, right, towards its direction here. I think we're using the don't know how to change that though. We have to move this guy towards this blue arrow here, right? We have to move it that way to scroll up and down. And to do that is actually not that hard to do. All we have to find out is what that direction is, right? So we need to know where the pawn is facing. So we have to get the pawn first. Okay, so let's see, get the pawn. And then our pawn, we don't have to do the specific type we created. We just need to have the parent class of it. So a pawn, possessed pawn, will be get pawn. Okay. Okay. Now we need to check if we have any pawn, right? Possessed. So if possessed pawn exists, then we need to know where it is facing. Because we're not doing any change to this variable, we can make it constant if you wanted to. And f vector, let's say pawn. Let's name it pawn forward direction or scroll up direction will be possessed pawn get actor forward direction, or forward vector actually. Okay, that's the direction we need to go for. Let's see, I don't think that's an arrow here. Oh, it is an arrow. It doesn't know what a pawn is. Okay, so it's kind of weird that it doesn't know what a pawn is, although it can possess one. But no problem. Let's just include. I think I'm not sure where the pawn class is, so I need to go there and look for it. It's gonna be underneath scheme framework in this case. Okay, let's go back and include that. So now it knows what a pawn is. Okay, so we're getting now the direction of the pawn now. Okay, then we wanted to determine, you know, how fast or how far away we move it. Because we have this amount, it's gonna be super easy. So constant offset f vector of pawn offset equals this scroll up direction multiplied by this amount. Okay. So now we have a different amount. If we wanted to move it further, we can have a bigger amount passed in this to this function, and it will be moved further away. Okay. And then eventually we just move this possessed pawn. Okay, so possessed pawn dot. Let's just add a actor local offset, actual word offset here, because we're moving it in the word direction, and we're moving the pawn offset amount. Okay, and that is scroll up. Okay, and then for scroll down, actually this is not down, this is right. It's up and down. We just need to give it negative values for up and down. Okay, so this is going to be the scroll right, and it's actually pretty similar. Let me just copy everything here. Okay, and then what we do here is, instead of getting the forward vector, let's just get it the right vector of it. Okay, so in this time it's going to move left and right. Alright, so it's as simple as that. So with those two implemented, okay, let's see how we can actually test those things. We can actually set up the input component now. We need some input settings. So let's go to project settings. Underneath the input, we need axis mapping, 2 of those. Let's move, call the first one scroll up, and then the next one scroll right. Okay, and then for scroll up we need 2 keyboard. One is the W and the other one will be S. So S button, then W is 1, S is -1. Okay, for scroll right we need 2. One is A, another one is D. So let's see. So let's type in D, and then it should be D here, and this one can be A. Oh, I'm changing that one. Yeah, let's just use this order. It's easier to remember. So A and D. D would be, D is actually the right direction, and A is the negative one, which is the left direction. Okay, so WSAD for buttons. All right. So let's go back to the code and to actually band the key we set it up in the editor with the two functions we created here. We just need to implement that underneath the setup input component. First, let's check if we have the input component. Okay, normally they do have an input component created underneath the player controller. Okay, if we have that, then input component will do something. Let's band axis. Okay, we're gonna band our axis here. The name will be the name we specified in the editor. So scroll up. Okay, and then it's gonna be this one as the instigator, and the function we're gonna band it up is scroll up in this case. So we're gonna have the namespace here. I'll also have to pass in the address. So scroll up. Okay, all right. Then second input banding will be the scroll right. Okay, and then it's gonna be our scroll right. All right, cool. Now we should be able to compile it now. Let's do a compile, and then we can run the game and then see if everything works. Let me clear the log. And by the way, if you want to see the log, it's underneath Edit, Window, Developer Tools, and then Output Log. Okay, that's a very nice way of seeing what's happening here. Okay, now let's go play the game. Now if I do WSAD, and I'm now actually be able to panning my viewport now, although it's not controlled by the mouse, but at least this part of the functionality is successfully implemented. Okay, all right, let's go back to the player controller just to refine it a little bit. Here we can actually give it a sensitivity control. So let's go back to the header file, and then let me do another set of public things. This one for this, what I wanted to have is some controls of how fast the panning could be controlled, will be. So I can create a variable to multiply that. Anywhere blueprint read write, in case I need to change it. Category will be equals to functionality scrolling, if that's more specific, and then float scroll speed. Okay, and then let's give it a default value of maybe 20. Okay, and we're gonna multiply that here. So okay, cool. So what happens here now is when we press this scroll up button, which is defined here underneath the input here, this button, if we press this button here, it will run the scroll up member function of our player controller class, and then pass in a variable amount, and that variable, the argument passed in, will be how much you pressed the button. Okay, so if you press it for longer, and it will go longer than that. So that's what that why that is needed here. Okay, let's go play the game now. And because I multiply it by 20, I'm going much faster. Okay, and I can of course go to the player controller blueprint here, and then I can manipulate the speed to maybe 10. If I think that's too much, I can make that 10, and then when I apply again, you see my speed is getting smaller, slower. Okay, so that's all I want to do in this tutorial. In the next one, we're gonna look for how to use the actual cursor or the mouse to control the scrolling. Okay, so see you next time.